They won. Hi, kids. Victorious puppies. This team is ruining my life. Why do I watch hockey? Stress relief. We can. And we will. Victory, puppies, boys. Oh my god. Oh, you're chewing way too loud. Here's another. I'm kidding. I was working last night. Leafs win 4-1 over the Minnesota Wild, winning their final game of the decade. Well, final game of the decade unless you're Morgan Riley or some other nerd. Does it end with a 0? Great. New decade. Well, actually, it's... You hear that? Oh, so much better. So like I said, I was working last night. We were doing ice surfing on Sportsnet's YouTube channel, and it was a lot of fun. We looked at my doppelganger behind the Leafs bench, and a lot of people tweeted me about this. I guess the standard for doppelganger these days is brown hair and glasses, so if Channing Tatum could start wearing glasses, that'd be great. But this game was a funny one. Sometimes live, especially during ice surfing, we got a lot of games going on. I don't always get the full grasp of the game, so obviously I watch the highlights a few more times to see what people are saying. I do my research, make sure I didn't miss anything. And I think that was the perfect game if you're a coach. Why do I say that? It was actually kind of boring. The second period was a bit of an adventure. Toronto outshot Minnesota 15-14. That's 29 shots combined. First period, 15. Third period, 12. And that is not a Leafy third period at all. I thought something seemed off about the game, and I was wrong. It wasn't off, it was just unfamiliar. Because this was one of the only, if not the only, true lockdown Leaf wins of the season. Because I was watching, and from about the halfway mark of the game in the second period onward, I thought Minnesota had the puck almost the whole time. I'd love to see the real numbers. The Leafs just didn't let them do anything with it. And it's a great sloppy road win. I know that the season is well back underway after the holiday break, but is it? You're on the road, it's New Year's, the game started at 5 locally. Whose idea was that? I get starting it earlier than you usually would, but when was the last time you went to a sporting event that started at 5? Maybe it's more of a central time zone thing, I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the game, and this video is especially late, I know that. Once we're done talking about the game, which I don't think there was a ton of meat to, then we'll talk about the decade that was. So, to start this game, the Leafs had a top or second line, or whatever you want to call it, of John Tavares in the middle, William Nylander on the right, really liking that duo these days, and Alexander Kerfoot on the left. Now, I love that. I really do love that, and Kerfoot, I think, is an ideal candidate for that spot. The only problem, and the reason that I never suggested it, is that's your third center. And I have been pleasantly surprised with Jason Spezza this year. I think he's been a good player for the Leafs. But I don't love him as third line center. Especially don't love it on the road when the home team can target you a little better, and when the fourth line center is Adam Brooks, who just got here. But I like the experiment. Let's see how it goes. I think it's really important with sports, especially with players you don't like, to try to watch them with different eyes. Like with William Nylander, I defend him a lot. I criticize him some, but I defend him a lot. This goal is a great example of the player he's becoming. That's the thing, like we always think it's a season-to-season thing. No, players evolve during the season. It's a little under 6 minutes into the game. Zach Parise has the puck in the Minnesota Wild zone, and William Nylander forces a turnover. And through the hard work of William Nylander, this little frame turned into this. He attacked the offensive zone by himself. He created a turnover. He fished the puck out of the corner. He worked it back to the point where his teammates had newly arrived. Ceci gets it from Nylander over to the point to Dermott. He puts it on. Zach Parise blocks it. John Tavares wins the puck battle with him because, of course, he's John Tavares. He sets up Alex Kerfoot, who buries it past Devan Dubnyk. 1-0 Leafs. Excellent goal, excellent effort, and it's something I'm noticing so much more with Keefe's Leafs, where you'll get the 5-player goal. And it all starts because of the effort of a guy who won't even get a sniff of an assist on this one, with William Nylander. Cody Ceci, the other Leaf skater on the ice who won't get a point on this one, he's been so much better on the third pair, really has been. And Sheldon Keefe, once again, I don't know if he's brilliant or if it's luck, but Kerfoot, first game, one of his first shifts on that line. Buries it. Nice little pass and puck battle by JT, the little thin king, man. About half a minute to go in the first period now. Tyson Barrie deep in the Minnesota Wild end, but it's okay because John Tavares throws it on, and hey, there's Tyson Barrie. Barrie tries to throw a pass in front, or maybe this was on purpose, I don't know, but it's pandemonium in front of the Minnesota Wild net. Matthews is fishing for it, Dubnyk never quite covers it up, and William Nylander smacks it in. 2-0 Leafs at the intermission. Man, the list of guys who have benefited from Sheldon Keefe coming on board is almost all of them. I don't think the Minnesota Wild were particularly good in this game, and I thought they were a little soft on the Leafs. Kerfoot wide open in front. William Nylander not even being shoved in front of the net. And I think a lot of people look down on that and they go, well, the Leafs, you know, they didn't really beat. You can only beat the team in front of you, and isn't it a good thing that the Leafs outworked them? And it continues into the second period. Kevin Fiala trips Martin Marincin. Kevin! That's one of the fastest players the Wild have, and Martin Marincin? They kill it off. Okay, good for them. Oh, Ryan Donato holding on John Tavares. On the ensuing power play, this was a smoking goal. Mitch Marner with the puck in the high slot finds William Nylander. Everyone was raving about the Nylander pass. I thought that pass from Marner was just as good. Oh, maybe not just as good. Willie's was pretty freaking excellent. Sends it through a wall of Minnesota players, through a sea of green. And Matthews, like the Terminator, just staring down his teammates like his joy simulators malfunctioned. That guy scored his 27th goal of the season. He's second in the league. His team has a 3-0 lead. Couldn't care less. Imagine scoring so often that it bored you. And Matthews quickly identifying that Dubnyk was down and out. He didn't even get like torque into the shot, just sort of lifts it with his arms and it's in. And this play is why, once again, we've been looking at assistant coaches entirely wrong. I know I have been. When the power play was struggling to start the season, oh, it's Paul McFarland. When the penalty kill was struggling to start the season, oh, it's Dave Haxtell. Sheldon Keefe's come in and they look completely different. And I don't know if that's Keefe adding in his genius or if it's him just letting them do their gig. But the Leafs, this team that seems to think outside of the box behind the scenes. Oh, we're going to get super into analytics and we're going to hire this person, that person, and we're going to try this in the minors and we're going to do... They're actually doing it at the NHL level now. I was getting pretty sick and tired of watching the Leafs lose 4-2 and going, yeah, but the Growlers are doing real good. What if they all did good? Oh, Travis Dermott, interference on Jordan Greenway. Can't do that. Ryan Suter puts it on. Oh, that beats Freddie. It's a goal for Minnesota. And then Sheldon Keefe uses a timeout. He just uses it. And I'm looking at this going, gosh, he's so revolutionary. I think Sheldon Keefe has already used more timeouts in, like, what is he? It's not even 20 games than Babcock did in his entire Leafs tenure. It's no longer this thing you do with like 90 seconds to go and you accidentally ice the puck. Just use the timeout, for crying out loud. Here's when you use a timeout, okay? When you want to! This goes back to the conversation I always have with my wife about ice cream. She gets mad at me for eating the ice cream. Whenever we buy ice cream, you eat it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the ice cream that we purchased was decorative. But we can never just have it in the house. We did have it in the house, and then I ate it, which was the purpose of the ice cream. The purpose of a timeout is so that you can have a timeout. Stop having it just to have it and then never use it. And decorative timeouts 2020. I'm for it, Sheldon. And then it was kind of like I said earlier, Minnesota had the puck almost the whole time and did nothing with it. Nothing. And I was stuck between, did the Leafs play a good lockdown game? I'm not sure if it was great because Minnesota had the puck the whole time. They seemed to have a lot of offensive zone time. But Sheldon was pretty happy with it, so I guess it was good. I want to give the Leafs props, but I do gotta say the Wild really played like they had somewhere to be. Fine by me. JT scores the long-distance empty netter. Risky, but I trust you. You're the captain. Oh, look, it worked. And the Leafs pick up 2 road points. And get this, William Nylander is the 3rd player in Maple Leafs franchise history to score a winning goal in 3 straight road games, joining Matt Sundin, November 30th to December 13th, 2001, and Alexander Steen, January 4th to 16th, 2007. All 3 of them Swedes. A guy we alienated at the end of his career, a guy we alienated at the beginning of his career, and William Nylander, TBD. Protect talented Swedes at all cost 2020. Questions. When you said the Leafs have 7 legit NHL lines, are they going to use them all this year? Yeah, I think what I said was they have 6 legit NHL lines. I hope not, man. Kapanen was laboring in this game. Pierre Engvall went down the tunnel and I was about to lose my mind. The Leafs just called up Mason Marchment. We'll see if that evolves into anything. Adam Brooks has actually gotten in games, but Marchment, we'll see. Jeremy Bracco was called up. Anyone remember that? He was called up, never played. Kenny Agostino never played. Teemu Kivihalme, that was cool that the Leafs actually let him go to Minnesota, where he's from. And Justin Holl, we should get to that next. I'll get to that next. I am going to stick to my guns that the Leafs have 6 legit NHL lines. Here's the thing. There's a difference between an NHL line and an NHL line, right? There's an Adam Brooks or a Dmytro Timashov or a Freddie the Goat who I'm like, yeah, totally, 4th line, I trust you. But then all of a sudden they gotta play like 3rd or 2nd or God forbid 1st, and I'm like, whoa, slow down. So Mason Marchment? Heck yeah, Mason Marchment, I'm down. Okay, we were gonna play him next to Tavares. I am far less down. I would like to see him play with Adam Brooks though, because I believe when the Marlies won the Calder Cup, the line was Brooks, Marchment, and Moore. So the amount of injuries the Leafs have gotten are certainly a problem, but they have a solution. It's not a bad way to be. Now, if someone else goes down on defense, they are boned. And related, Rasmus Sandin leaving his World Junior game. He was on the ice this morning, I saw in a tweet. Hopefully he'll be fine. Now, I didn't see a question about this, but I will talk about it. Justin Holl, 3 years, $2 million per year. Not bad for a guy who I think last night was game 52. Teemu Kivihalme. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. How do you say it?
In case you're wondering how to pronounce your Finnish-American defenseman's name correctly, it's Teemu Kivihalme.
Thank you very much. Don't let the Finnish name fool you. This guy is from Minnesota, which is why he got to come on this trip. And also, I'd like to see him get in a game. But Justin Holl, from Minnesota, played in Minnesota, signs his 3-year extension in Minnesota. It's beautiful. On New Year's Eve, no less. It's a great thing. Hey, Leaf fans are going to be convening all around the world, and they're going to be talking about it. It's smart, man. As for the deal itself, I'm for it, man. Like, I know Justin Holl has not played very much, so it's risky in that regard. I'm pretty sure this is the player he is. $2 million? It's not a ton of money. If it really goes sideways, you can bury almost all of it, especially 3 years from now. And it's 3 years long. Now you don't have to worry about it. And Dubas's #1 mission heading into this offseason is, who the heck's going to play defense for us in the future? Well, he just answered one of the questions there. Are the Leafs still struggling to make the playoffs? Hey, don't get comfortable. Look who's behind the Leafs right now. If the playoffs started today, they'd be taking on Tampa, who has games in hand. Most teams have games in hand on the Leafs. So the Leafs, who are the hottest team in the NHL right now, legit, go look at their record, are not out of the woods. They're in a playoff spot. They are not comfortably in a playoff spot. How fitting is it that the Leafs won their last game of the decade 4-1? Let's not talk about that game anymore, 2020. Great question. Who gets a demotion once Mango returns? Where does he play? The Nylander JT line? I'm really loving Matty with Marner and Hyman. Yeah, that Johnsson Matthews Nylander line, I don't know, it didn't work. We didn't get to see a ton of it under Keefe, so maybe they go to it a few times. I think you're right though. Hyman, Matthews, Marner, and then Johnsson, Tavares, Nylander could be something. Then you got Engvall, Kerfoot, Kapanen. I love that 3rd line. And then the 4th line. Who's on the 4th line, Steve? It doesn't matter to me. I trust a whack of guys to do that. Also key in this conversation, though, is I don't know whether or not they have to send guys down. I don't understand their cap situation. Straight up, don't get it. I know they're in LTIR, and that's why they're allowed to have spares right now, and they gotta be as close to the cap as possible without going over it in order to activate the... I don't know! I'm in it for the hockey watching, not the numbers! But to me, it's up to Johnsson what he wants to do, because I think he's gotta change his game. He scores a lot of his goals at the front of the net, but that's John Tavares' whole thing. So is he going to be the guy digging for pucks in the corner? Here's an idea. What if it was Engvall, Tavares, Nylander, and Johnsson, Kerfoot, Kapanen? That's a banger of a 3rd line. That could be a matchup line. Having multiple good players is great. And now I just want to briefly talk about the decade that was. Wow. I remembered how much I forgot. Like, it's mind-blowing to me that the gold medal game in Vancouver was part of the past decade. It's more mind-blowing to me that I was there. Only about 2 weeks before this past decade began, I went on my first flight ever. Nike flew me out to Regina to go to the World Junior Team announcement. And I don't need to go through the whole story, but you could read it all in the book. But, oh yeah, I wrote a book. I got 100,000 subscribers now. I remember actually telling Nike, like as part of my pitch, guys, I have 2,000 Twitter followers. And all I've felt over the past 24 hours, sort of reflecting on the past decade, besides from being completely mystified by how things have turned out, I'm just really grateful. Because there is no this, or me, or, well, no, I'd still exist. I'd probably work at the zoo, though. There's no this. There's no Blue Room. There's no LFR without you. Without you, Rachel's Raiders wouldn't have raised over $100,000 for Easter seals this past year. Without you, I wouldn't have been doing a podcast with my friends for like 7 years now. From the Game 7 collapses, oh, there they are again, to the Nashville 9-2 games, to the Phil Kessel era wasted, to the Shanaplan and the Matthews pick, and this win against Minnesota. Thank you so much for watching, listening, reading, and saying hi. I'm hoping we get to say hi more in 2020. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends to have a Happy New Year. And for crying out loud, don't drink and drive or drive high or any of that silliness. This is the part where I tell you about my book, where you can read about my life from the past 10 years and even before that, because I'm older than 10. It's available in print, ebook, audiobook, and hologram. That last one's not true. That'd be dope, though.